She is in a tavern that her mama built with her own hands in the 1600s, and she wants a better life. And I call that self-determination. Absolutely. Right? And I love the self-determination of the women in this story.
It's, that's part of the pleasure of bringing folks back. You have a responsibility as a historical fiction author to honor the lives you are returning to our atmosphere, because they've been discarded or displaced or just overtly hidden or lied upon. So I take very great pains. I want you to feel safe. Like some people, when they say history, they only think of chattel slavery. And there's such riches beyond that. I want you to know that we've been pirates, captains of industry. We've done so many things. And women especially have done so many great things, but they're ignored, or somebody will take credit for all their hard work. So when I find someone like Jacote, I want you to feel her. I want you to know her environment. I want you to know her challenges. But I do it like you're behind her, safely standing behind her, watching what's going on. You feel like, some people say it's like a movie. You feel like you're there on the ship's dock. You feel the waves hitting the boat. You smell the salt in the air. That's the kind of realism that I want you to feel. So I get the language right, I get the culture right, I know the money, I do all that extensive research, so you feel like you're really there.
And we do. And we do. That is such a great point that you bring, because in the 1600s, and part of what she brings out in the story, the women just didn't have very many options. But out of that, and it's going to sound real familiar, they were oppressed. There was a lot of misogyny. No matter if you were a wife, wifery was more like slavery, right? Absolutely. And so you still didn't have your own agency. So you wrote self-determination into the lives of each of these women. Can you talk about why you chose to call that characteristic or that trait forward and show us that aspect of their lives?
Well, you start with Jacote. Jacote, when you're trying to piece together these lives of hundreds and hundreds of years ago, for men, first of all, I thank you men, you guys write letters. I love y'all's letters. I find them. I find y'all's journal entries. That gives me so much perspective on the world. It is very rare to find anything written by a woman talking about her life. So earlier someone talked about journaling. Please, we need to journal. Everyone needs to know the chaotic things that we're living through now, our perspective. So you have Jacote. She is a tavern worker. She works in her father's tavern. But then she rises to be a captain of a pirate ship. How does one go there? Right. You have to have something in your middle. Something burning inside that says, I can do better, I must do better. And so one of the things I want to make sure people understand, these are ordinary individuals. Because I hate when it's the magical Negro. You are the one chosen, you're the special one, which basically translates that you can't do it because you weren't chosen and you're not special. All of the women I've ever written about were ordinary women who seized the moment. They saw the opportunity, they steeled their courage, and they took up their swords, or rapiers, and went ahead and did what they had to do. So that's why, some people might have started the book in the middle of the piracy. No, I want to let's make this make sense. How do you go from point A to point B? And so you see her rise, and you see her challenges, and you see her not necessarily being the smartest person on the block several times. Luckily, she gets a crew of people around her who can, when you have a weakness, you partner up with somebody who's stronger in those areas. So you see her building up so that by the time she steps on that boat, you know she's ready. Mm-hmm. You know she's ready for this challenge. And when she becomes a captain, you know she is going to be the best captain that can be in that time frame.